that, can you please draw up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares? For those of you that are ready to start, the first step is to put some, I would do this just because it's simplest, just fill in the first box and the last box with white. And you can use your finger to make it a sort of a reasonably flat white, okay? Okay, so the next step is very easy. In the box next to the white at one end, you just fill it in with your red. And don't do it too heavily. Just give it a good coat of red. And then again, you can use your finger just to soften it all. So it's a flat red. At the other end, next to the other white, use your green or whatever cut to. I mean, you may not have chosen two colors the same as me, but whatever you're using, one is one color and one is the other color, and it's in both cases it's next to the white. Okay, those of you with the heads up, in the middle, this last remaining square in the middle, you can start with either the red or the green. I don't mind which. I'm going to start with my green as it's in my hand. Fill it in. Again, it doesn't need to be too heavy, you're filling in, just so you've got a green. And then again, use your finger. And then take your red and go over the top of it. So you give it, again, you don't have to do it too heavily, just put some red over the top of the green. And then use your finger and blend those two colors together. And what you get is a sort of a dark, well, mine is slightly browny, I suppose. Okay. I'm concerned with using two complementary colors and making a very simple color scale with those. Now, so far, all I've got is my straightforward red, my straightforward green, two whites at either end, and then the mixture of the red and the green in the middle. Right, are you ready for the last step?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, the last step, which is easy, is to put at one end the red over your white. And at the other end, the green over the white. And then with your finger, just, oops, God, my finger's dirty. Just mix the red and the white together and you should get a pink. And at the other end, you need to get a clean finger or a clean something. At the other end, mix the green and the white and you should have a pale green. I think now's the time. If everybody's done their scale, has anybody not finished their scale? Good, marvelous. Okay, so put your scales to one side, and I've got at the moment got my board in portrait, and I ignore this. And I don't want it in portrait because my subject is in a kind of landscapey format. So I'm going to turn the board. And I think this also needs to be considered before you start, which way round you have your board. I'm going to have it like that. Okay. And Lucy, could you possibly spotlight my subject and my board so you can see the two together? Right, can you see? I'm sorry you're seeing my subject from the side, but it's a long sort of arrangement, a long composition. So do bear that in mind. It might be more appropriate for you to have your board in portrait, or it may be better in landscape. I'll leave it to you to decide. Let's get going with this. I think, as I said just now, draw the subject up, the whole composition in white first of all. So you've got the shapes where you want them. And if you want to include, like in my case, it's on a little shelf here. So I might include a line or something here near the bottom part of the board. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, and this is sort of not specifically for Chris, but for people who tend to make their subject go off the edge of the bottom of the page, I think start a little bit further up the page. And start with the shapes that are closest to you. In my case, it's the yellow pepper, and I'm probably going to start I'm going to make it go off center, so it's not right bang in the middle of my center. So I'm going to start by drawing that yellow pepper, and I'm going to draw it slightly bigger than it is possibly in reality, and get it drawn in, and then proceed with the other shapes. And remember, you can either use your finger to smudge out things or get rid of things, or you can use a little hard rubber, which is, I've got my piece of hard rubber here, which is useful because it's pretty hard. And then I can alter things as needed. Okay, so I'll try and talk as I draw, so you're aware of what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. And so if we could all of us just go ahead and begin our composition. Okay, now I'm noticing that my pak choi is further back than my pepper. So I would, that needs to be taken into consideration. This pak choi on the right is further back, but the top of it is below the top of the pepper. So and then I'm just going to literally sketch in the whole subject. I would keep the white line quite light. Don't be tempted to, well, mine is very soft, but don't be tempted to do it too heavily, the line. Now I'm also going to start to use my green at the same time, so that I'm just using it as a dark, so I can see where the dark edge is underneath the pepper. And it also helps me to define the shapes a little bit more. I'm not sort of doing it to describe the color as much as I am to help me establish the shapes, because I think that's more important. It's always good to relate things to each other. I'm noticing that the space between my orange pumpkin and the back of my pak choi is not big enough. So I've gone back and redrawing it. It just means that the foreshortening of my pak choi isn't quite right. So the space between here and here is helpful because it's helping me to see how close that pak choi is to the pumpkin. I still think I've got it too far away from it. So it just means adjusting those shapes. So use your negative space that that you can see to help you. Don't ignore it. I mean, it's helpful to judge the edge of that against the edge of that, and then see how wide this is. Now, this now looks too wide, so I'm going to have to reduce the width of it because the back of the pak choi is smaller. It's further away from me. And then the leaves are all round the front here. They're flopping over the front of the shelf. And I think at this point, I'm going to actually include a bit of the back of the shelf just to give myself show that that's the shelf. And this here is the underneath of the two pieces of wood go like this.